The SSV Normandy SR2, or System Alliance Space Vehicle Normandy Stealth Reconnaissance 1, was a prototype deep scout frigate, first of the eponymous Normandy class, co-developed by the Alliance and the Turian hierarchy, with the sponsorship of the Citadel Council. She is optimized for solo reconnaissance missions deep within unstable regions, using state-of-the-art stealth technology powered by an experimental drive core. Commissioned in 2183, the Normandy was initially commanded by an Alliance officer named Eli Zander. After Zander came into conflict with Turian Chief Engineer Octavio Tatum over the limits of the ship's drive core, Zander was removed and David Anderson placed in command. Shortly thereafter, the Normandy was handed over to Commander Shepard, when the commander became the first human Spectre and served as Shepard's main source of transportation and base of operations for several weeks over the course of the war on Eden Prime and through to 1 month after the Battle of the Citadel, when the Normandy SR2 was attacked. An unidentifiable starship suddenly appeared and moved to intercept the Normandy, despite the frigate's stealth systems being active. Realizing that the ship was hostile, the helmsman, Jeff Joker Moreau, initiated evasive maneuvers. The pursuing ship unleashed a barrage of beam weaponry that easily penetrated the Normandy's defences. The Normandy's kinetic barriers and weapon systems were knocked out with a single hit. Within seconds, the Normandy was crippled as more hits breached the upper decks of the ship and destroyed one of the starboard engine nacelles, resulting in the deaths of over 20 crew members, including Commander Shepard, and the Normandy herself was completely destroyed. But the legend of the Normandy was far from over. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Lorecore Multiverse, Lorecore, or hell LCMV for short. There is a plethora of other gaming franchises, movie franchises and sci-fi in general that I want to cover on this channel, applying my nerdy, science-orientated brain to the task of fleshing out various aspects of various universes in as much glorious nerdy detail as possible. You can imagine my immense glee at the reality that, as a gamer at heart, many of my most favourite gaming franchises are due reboots or new entries into their series in the next couple of years. The likes of Deus Ex, Anthem, Mass Effect, and Crysis in particular are all shaping up to have new additions to their respective universes in due course. So this channel is currently in prime position to grow exponentially in the near future. So not only does that fill me with an immense drive to put extra effort into this channel, but also reminds me to thank every single one of you for supporting the channel thus far. Today, we're diving back into the Mass Effect universe and giving the most instantly recognizable ship of the franchise the most detailed treatment, focusing specifically at the second incarnation of the ship. My glorious paragons and badass renegades, I give you the SSV Normandy SR2. The Normandy SR2 first entered service in 2185 and served as the successor to the SR1. The elusive man had Cerberus build the SR2 for the newly revived Commander Shepard's team to aid them in their mission to stop the Collector's galaxy-wide campaign of human abductions. The ship served as the headquarters of the Lazarus Cell. Constructed at great and laborious expense in the Voyager cluster, The ship is very similar to the Systems Alliance SSV Normandy SR1, having been based on the design layout of the original. The Normandy SR2 has several key differences, the most significant being that she is almost twice the mass of the original. Cerberus also designed the ship with more crew-orientated comforts by including civilian-grade accommodations, like leather chairs and a kitchen. The ship still retains the SSV Normandy SR1's stealth characteristics. However, unlike the SR1, the SR2 cannot land on every planet due to her increased mass, requiring shore parties to use a shuttle to get to the planet's surface. As the Normandy SR2 was based on the original specifications of the Normandy SR1, she is equipped with many of the same advanced systems of its predecessor. In particular, her advanced stealth systems, which stored heat within a network of lithium heat sinks deep within the ship's hull, and the oversized Tantalus drive core, which allows increased FTL speeds and durations compared to similarly sized vessels, as well as superior sublight acceleration and maneuverability. The Normandy SR2 also sports another significant upgrade over the SR1. Hede, which stands for Enhanced Defense Intelligence, is the AI of the Normandy SR2 and is represented by a holographic floating blue sphere at various terminals throughout the ship, where she can provide basic information about the Normandy and Cerberus. Hede functions as the electronic warfare defense for the Normandy, and because of the potential danger of a rogue AI, she was given behavioral blocks and couldn't interface with the ship's systems directly, until the boarding of the collectors and the abduction of most of the crew initiated an emergency response, where Hede, together with the efforts of Jeff Joker Moreau, released these blocks, granting Hede full control over the Normandy. Before Shepard and his crew's defection away from Cerberus and back towards the Systems Alliance, Hede also served as the elusive man's eyes and ears on the Normandy, monitoring the many listening devices on board and sending regular reports to him. During this time, the elusive man also restricted Shepard's access to some of Hede's files and capabilities for unknown reasons, although Hede surmised that it was probably because he didn't want Shepard to know everything about Cerberus. Hede also gained access to anti-Reaper algorithms and stated that she devoted a significant portion of her processing power to analysing them. When pressed on this subject by Shepard as to how she could hope to combat beings millions of years more advanced, she revealed that she was, in part, designed by technology gained from Sovereign's remains, and thus, at least partially, is based on Reaper technology herself. Needless to say, following the defection of Shepard and his crew from Cerberus and back into the Systems Alliance, Hede, being a fully fledged artificial intelligence with free will and sentience, followed Shepard's lead and has since severed any ties to Cerberus. Although she still downplays her level of sentience to members of the Systems Alliance that she is unacquainted with, as there still remains a concern at the potential of artificial intelligence technology. As her primary role is a stealth reconnaissance frigate, the Normandy SR2 isn't outfitted with a plethora of weapons and armaments, relying more on passive and defensive systems to maintain her mission parameters, but of the armaments that are available, the Normandy leads by example with extraordinarily powerful weapons. Initially, the Normandy was armed with 2 Javelin disruptor torpedo launchers mounted on joints between its engine mounts and primary hull. The Javelin is an experimental, close assault weapon system consisting of paired disruptor torpedo tubes bolted or magnetically slung onto the ship's exterior armoured hull. The torpedoes are fired on converging trajectories, detonating in a precisely timed sequence that allows the dark energy emitted by their warheads to resonate, magnifying the resulting space-time warp effects and literally shredding the target apart. These weapons are powerful enough to destroy a huge collector vessel with several volleys. Like fighter-launched torpedoes, Javelins are cold-launched for safety reasons, though they use a different approach. Resembling old-fashioned submarine torpedo tubes, Javelin torpedoes come packed in individual sealed tubes filled with compressed inert gas. Opening the front of the tube causes escaping gases to push the torpedo into the vacuum, releasing a puff of crystals around the mouth of the tube. After completely clearing the tube, the torpedo ignites its thrusters. Javelin mounts are most often fitted on swift frigates, which enter knife fight torpedo ranges as a matter of course. Javelins may also be fitted on heavier ships for short-range engagements, such as trans-relay assaults. They are particularly useful in this role for dreadnoughts, which cannot lay their main guns on close-range targets. As missile weapons, Javelins are subject to highly accurate defensive Guardian fire. They must be launched in large numbers and at short range to have any chance of hitting their target at all. In addition to this, the Normandy is equipped with the Thanex magnetic hydrodynamic weapon, which is a Turian-developed miniaturized version of the weapon used by Sovereign during its attack on the Citadel. It uses an electromagnetic field to shape and accelerate a stream of superheated molten metal to relativistic velocities, which then impacts its target and deals horrendous damage. The Thanex's core is a liquid alloy of iron, uranium, and tungsten, suspended in an electromagnetic field powered by element 0. The molten metal, accelerated to a significant fraction of the speed of light, solidifies into a projectile as it is fired, hitting targets with enough force to pierce any known shield or armour. The gun can fire reliably every 5 seconds. The weapon's fire appears as a bright blue beam, very similar to the deadly red trails seen firing from the tips of Sovereign's arms during the Battle of the Citadel. In combat, the Thanex cannon is strong enough to destroy a collector cruiser in 2 shots. While the Normandy SR2's armament is relatively modest but extraordinarily powerful, the Normandy's true tactical value lies in her defensive capability. The Normandy is equipped with a standard system of kinetic barrier shielding. Kinetic barriers are specialized mass effect fields that halt incoming projectiles. They are ineffective against extremes of heat or radiation, such as lasers and particle weapons. Multi-core shielding, utilizing cyclonic barrier technology or CBT, was refit to the Normandy SR2. The CBT violently slaps aside rather than halting incoming linear force by rotationally firing their mass effect field projectors. The ship creates rapidly oscillating kinetic barriers instead of static ones. Shooting through the CBT is like trying to shoot at a target inside a spinning ball. If an emitter is damaged, the CBT corrects to become a traditional shield array, a safety feature that makes it most effective during opening volleys. Significant drawbacks to current CBT configuration prevent its use on anything other than frigates and fighters. Its many high-frequency sensors and emitters require frequent maintenance and replacement. A partially damaged CBT can endanger its operator, who is surrounded by rotating mass effect fields skewing in unpredictable directions. The Normandy is plated with ablative armour, meant primarily to defend against the directed energy weapons that kinetic barriers cannot impede. The armour boils away when heated. The vaporized armour material scatters directed energy weapon beams, rendering them ineffectual. Asari-designed Solaris heavy ship armour was retrofitted to the hull of the ship, improving her survivability in combat. The armour can resist even the tremendous heat and kinetic energy of starship weapons. The armour is nearly unsurpassed in its strength because its central material, carbon nanotube sheets woven with diamond chemical vapor deposition, are crushed by mass effect fields into superdense layers able to withstand extreme temperatures. This process also compensates for diamond's brittleness. Diamond armour itself has 2 limiting disadvantages. First, while nanotubes and CVD diamond construction have become cheaper in recent years, it remains prohibitively expensive to coat starships or aircraft larger than a frigate in Solaris material. Second, the armour must be attached to the ship's superstructure, so shockwaves from the massive firepower can still destroy the metal beneath the armour itself. A popular misconception holds that the diamond composition of Solaris armour gives it a sparkle. In fact, atmospheric nitrogen impurities during the superhot forging process give the armour a metallic grey or yellow sheen. The Normandy is also armed with an array of anti-missile and anti-fighter craft Guardian or General Area Defensive Integration Anti-Spacecraft Network point defense lasers, which consist of anti-missile anti-fighter laser turrets on the exterior hull. Because these are under computer control, the gunnery control officer need to do little beyond turn the system on and designate targets as hostile. Since lasers move at the speed of light, they cannot be dodged by anything moving at non-relativistic speeds. Unless the beam is aimed poorly, it will always hit its target. In the early stages of a battle, the Guardian fire is 100% accurate. It is not 100% lethal, but it doesn't have to be. Damaged fighters must break off for repairs. Lasers are limited by diffraction. This means beams spread out, decreasing the energy density, or watts per meter squared, that the weapon can place on a target. Any high-powered laser is a short-ranged weapon. Guardian networks have another limitation: heat. Weapons-grade lasers require cooldown time, during which heat is transferred to sinks or radiators. As lasers fire, heat builds within them, reducing damage, range, and accuracy. Fighters attack in swarms. The first few will be hit by Guardian, but as the battle continues, the effects of a laser overheat allow the attacks to press ever closer to the ship. Constant use will burn out the laser. Guardian lasers typically operate in infrared frequencies. Shorter frequencies would offer superior stopping power and range, but degradation of focal arrays and mirrors would make these expensive to maintain, and most prefer mechanical reliability over leading-edge performance where lives are concerned. Solarians, however, use near-ultraviolet frequency lasers with 6 times the range, believing that having additional time to shoot down incoming missiles is more important. Lasers are not blocked by the kinetic barriers of capital ships. However, the range of lasers limit their use to rare knife fight range ship-to-ship combat. Another immensely impressive aspect of the Normandy SR2 specifications are its motive capabilities, brought about by impressive improvements in thruster technology. The Normandy's main propulsion is provided by 4 large anti-proton thrusters, with both aft and forward exhausts. Anti-protons are injected into a reaction chamber filled with hydrogen, or more specifically, protium, the most common and stable isotope of hydrogen, consisting of a proton nucleus and a single electron. The anti-proton is the antimatter version of the proton, contained at the nucleus of protium, but with the opposite of charge. The resulting matter-antimatter annihilation provides unmatched motive power. When a proton encounters its antiparticle, the reaction is not as simple as electron-positron annihilation. Unlike an electron, a proton is a composite particle consisting of 3 valence quarks and an indeterminate number of C-quarks bound by gluons. Thus, when a proton encounters an antiproton, one of its quarks, usually a constituent valence quark, may annihilate with an antiquark, which more rarely could be a C-quark, to produce a gluon, after which the gluon together with the remaining quarks, antiquarks and gluons will undergo a complex process of rearrangement called hadronization or fragmentation into a number of mesons, which will share the total energy and momentum. The exhaust of anti-proton drives is measured in millions of degrees Celsius. Any vessel caught behind them will melt like wax in a blowtorch. In the event that the ship's supply of anti-protons is depleted, the thrusters can be automatically switched over to more conventional, though markedly less powerful and less efficient, hydrogen-oxygen reaction fuels. And even in this department, the Normandy sports an upgrade. The Hede Industries Helios thruster module propulsion system far outpaces the typical liquid hydrogen-liquid oxygen reaction that powers a frigate's manoeuvring thrusters. By using metastable metallic hydrogen, The Helios boasts a fuel that burns at a far greater efficiency than liquid H2O2. Navigators can execute the numerous small course corrections inherent to any long-distance travel without fear of exhausting the ship's fuel supplies. This net gain extends to forward impulse as well. A ship powered by anti-protons can coast temporarily, using the Helios to reach an inferior but highly sustainable speed. Such efficiency lowers anti-proton consumption, a constant concern for any warship. The same efficiency that allows for microburn course correction can power rapid bursts of motion. Once the pilot becomes used to the ship's new energetic responses, they can easily put the ship wherever and at whatever angle they desire. Power for the Normandy's drive core and electrical systems is provided by a nuclear fusion power plant. Hydrogen fuel cells provide auxiliary power in case the main reactor is shut down. Integral to the Normandy stealth systems, the oversized Tantalus drive core generates mass concentrations that the Normandy falls into, allowing it to move without the use of heat-emitting thrusters. This means the drive core generates an extremely powerful mass effect field ahead of the ship's center of mass. That then, owing to the relationship between mass, distance and gravity, the ship is pulled towards this center of gravity, or effectively falls into or towards the gravity well of this virtual mass. In order to steer the ship, for example, moving to the port, the field is moved to the left of the ship's center of mass, causing the ship to begin turning. In order to slow down, the field is moved behind the ship's center of mass, causing the ship to begin slowing to a standstill. The rate of acceleration is varied and controlled by how strong this field is. The stronger the gravity, the higher the acceleration. The Tantalus drive core also generates the mass effect field around the ship that enables faster than light travel. The drive core decreases the mass of a bubble of space-time around a ship. This gives the ship the potential to move quickly but does not apply any motive power. Ships use their sublight thrusters for motive power in FTL. The design is based on that of the Normandy SR1 but is slightly different, being vertically orientated relative to the ship instead of horizontally orientated. The SR2's drive core is 3 times the size of the SR1's. Along with the Tantalus drive core, the Normandy is able to temporarily sink her heat within the hull. Combined with refrigeration of the exterior hull, the ship can travel undetected for hours, or drift passively for days of covert observation. This is not without risk. The stored heat must eventually be radiated, or it will build up to levels capable of cooking the crew alive. This stealth system apparently does not fool the scanners of collector ships, though the means by which the collectors are able to circumvent the Normandy's stealth measures and detect the ship are unknown. The Normandy's IES internal emission sink stealth system is her most notable feature. For centuries, it was assumed that starship stealth was impossible. The heat generated by routine shipboard operations is easily detectable against the near absolute zero background temperature of space. The Normandy, however, is able to temporarily store this heat in lithium heat sinks deep within the hull. The IES stealth system has a few limitations. The system doesn't work during FTL flight because this blue shifts the Normandy's emission beyond the heat sink's ability to store, and even while out of FTL, any visual scan, i.e. looking out of a window, will reveal her. However, this is rare, since most ships rely on scanners rather than visual contact, and spotting another ship in space is difficult. The Normandy can go to silent running for around 2 to 3 hours, or drift passively through a system for days before having to vent and give away her position. The stored heat must eventually be radiated, or it will build up to levels capable of cooking the crew. The stealth system is powered by the experimental Tantalus drive core, which again is proportionally about twice the size of any other ship's core. Talizora was fascinated as to how the Alliance managed to fit such a massive drive core into such a compact vessel, and Joker, as the ship's helmsman, mentions the oversized drive core affects the Normandy's balance, but it's nothing that he can't handle. The Normandy utilises probes to recover valuable resources from planets and investigate anomalies detected on the planets. These probes are fired from the ship into the planet's atmosphere, meaning the probe must be shielded from the immense heat of re-entry. Once deep enough in the atmosphere, the probe becomes self-propelled and maintains a constant altitude of several meters, all the while scanning subterraneally for any mineral, compound or metal deposits, adding all this data to an internal log to be retrieved by mining operations at a later date. The probe has a limited range and will eventually touch down on the planet and await the mining operations teams to arrive. Additionally, the Normandy SR2 uses a variety of passive and active scanners such as visual, thermographic and radio detectors, radar and LiDAR, laser detection and ranging. LiDAR has a narrower field of view than radar, but LiDAR resolution allows images of detectable objects to be assembled. The Argus Advanced Mineral Scanner delivers superior long-range topographical scanning resolution and rendering speed. By deploying an orbital multistatic grid of 100 radar-emitting microsatellites, the Argus quickly delivers a global digital elevation model, or DEM, at 15 meters per pixel resolution, vastly outclassing the Normandy's previous scanner peak performance of 27 meters per pixel. Such imaging quality provides superior defense intelligence and at a speed warranted by the dangers of combat. At slower scanning and rendering speed, the Argus can resolve down to an astonishing 0.001 millimeters per pixel, ideal for geological and biological prospecting, archaeological research, and long-term security surveillance. By employing such a massive multi-static grid of nearly untraceable micro-emitters, the resilient Argus is virtually invulnerable to electronic countermeasures. The spherical geometry of the Argus grid also allows superior cross-sectioning of targets. The medical bay of the Normandy SR2 can be upgraded with dermal regenerative units, capable of rebuilding soft tissues and repairing scar tissues entirely. This is an invaluable system to have available so deep in the field, where crew members are tasked with remote operations for prolonged periods in hostile environments. As injuries, both trivial and life-threatening, are immensely more likely on these kinds of mission deployments, having the ability to treat injuries with a fully equipped medbay and fully trained combat medics and healthcare professionals markedly improves the mortality rates of deployed crew members. Add to this the ability to rapidly regenerate lost, damaged or scarred tissues, and an injured crew member has a much faster turnaround of recovery and return to their duties. The medical bay also serves as a means for certain and specific augmentation technologies available as a consequence of recent research and development to actually be deployed on certain consenting crew members. Augmentations and cybernetic upgrades such as heavy skin weave, bone weave and muscle weave, and upgrades to biotic amplifiers are all easily performed in the Normandy's medbay. The Reaper IFF, Identification Friend or Foe, is a piece of Reaper technology which allows safe passage through the Omega-4 mass relay, presumably by commanding the relay to use more accurate methods of mass effect corridor transit. The Reaper IFF was recovered by Shepard's squad aboard the derelict Reaper orbiting Mnemosyne and integrated into the Normandy SR2 systems. When installed and activated, the Reaper IFF transmitted the location of the Normandy SR2 and locked up its systems. The collectors were able to ambush the Normandy, abducting most of the crew and forcing Joker to link Hede to the ship's main systems. By 2186, Shepard had, regardless of prior feelings for the organisation, defected from Cerberus and turned the Normandy SR2 over to the Systems Alliance. Feeling that the ship, being based on the Systems Alliance design SSV Normandy SR1, was their property, they studied and modified her, adding new parts, improving upon faults in Cerberus's construction of the vessel, redesigning existing areas and removing Cerberus equipment and replacing it with Alliance equipment. Renaming it the SSV Normandy SR2, it was subsequently recommissioned as an Alliance vessel, being given the Alliance colours to denote this. While somewhat similar in appearance to the Cerberus incarnation of the Normandy, the Alliance retrofit of the vessel has left the ship with significant differences between the vessels. A contrast that is even more stark due to the fact that the vessel's refit is only partially complete due to the Reaper invasion interrupting it. Most notably, Deck 2 has been significantly rearranged, with a war room, meeting room and QEC being installed into the deck, while Deck 5 now serves as the new armoury. The other decks have likewise been given an Alliance makeover, and thus have changed a substantial degree. Deck 1 is the Captain's Cabin. It contains an aquarium, armour locker, private terminal, display case for model ships, and a bathroom. The private terminal can be used to check emails and view combat demonstration videos, as well as view and change the outfits available for squad members. Deck 2 is the Combat Information Centre, or CIC. It contains the Normandy's bridge, the galaxy map, and a conference room. A private terminal is still accessible near the galaxy map for use by the captain of the ship. The armoury has been moved down to the shuttle bay on Deck 5 as per Alliance regulations, and the laboratory has been converted into the new conference room to make space for the war room. A new addition to the CIC layout is the war room, where war assets and galactic readiness can be examined. It also contains a quantum entanglement communications room used by the captain of the ship to contact various individuals to help with the war effort. Deck 3 is the crew deck. It contains the medical bay, crew sleeping quarters, kitchen, observation deck, AI core, life support, bathrooms, Liara Tassoni's office, and the main battery. Liara's office, located in the same space where Miranda's office and quarters was located before the Alliance refit, and contains the broker terminal, granting access to highly sensitive and confidential information that has been collected by the Shadow Broker regarding various individuals important to the mission at hand. Hede's mobile platform can sometimes be found in the AI core, which is still accessible from inside of the medbay, just as it was for the Cerberus-operated SR2. Located just outside the elevator, there is a memorial wall featuring a record of crew casualties, including those who died on the Vermeer mission, the Suicide mission, and the 20 crew members lost during the destruction of the Normandy SR1. Deck 4 is the engineering deck. It contains the Normandy's drive core. The starboard cargo room doubles as Diana Aller's quarters and her remote broadcast studio, while the portside cargo room serves as Javik's quarters. Tali and Engineer Adams work on the engineering deck. If military pardons are issued through the Spectra office in the Citadel embassies, Adams will be joined by Kenneth Donnelly and Gabrielle Daniels. Deck 5 is the shuttle bay. It contains the Normandy's armoury, cargo hold, and 2 Kodiak shuttles. James Vega and Lieutenant Steve Cortez spend their time in the shuttle bay. Equipment from various retailers can also be purchased here via the procurement terminal at a slight premium over Citadel prices. A weapon modification bench and armour locker are also available here, which can be used to modify equipment, weapons, and armour respectively. A small gym is also found here. With great labour and elaborate secrecy, the Normandy SR2 was built by Cerberus to be a larger, more powerful vessel upon the original's destruction. Cerberus's many alterations produced a craft nearly double the original size and mass, now armed and armoured with even more sophisticated tech. All this required an even larger Tantalus drive core to compensate. This new core is housed within a sphere which holds element 0 and is technologically different from the original Tantalus core. The manner in which it generates an immense output of power for the ship is meant to invoke a super collider. Combined with her speed and manoeuvrability, the Normandy is now capable of significant offensive feats. Equipped with Javelin disruptor torpedoes, point defense lasers, and the Thanex cannon, a Reaper-based weapon. She's even defensively great, thanks to the addition of kinetic barriers, deflective armour, and stronger shielding. Finally, Normandy is also given an onboard AI in the form of the Enhanced Defense Intelligence, colloquially referred to as Hede. Hede coordinates many of the ship's combat functions, assisting and even supplanting human piloting if needed. In spite of her relatively small size compared to other starships in the series, the Normandy continues to be touted as the fastest, most advanced, and most iconic vessel of the Alliance fleet, leading the charge of United Citadel alien races in the battle for Earth at the close of the Reaper War. Her current whereabouts remains unknown.